Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share yet another update on my experience with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Plus. Now, I've really been loving using this device. It has in many ways put my Spectre, my HP Spectre 13T to sleep. And I say that because I am using this a lot more than I am my 13T. I mean, it's more compact, has better battery life. Of course, it can't do what my 13T can. It's not something I'm going to edit 4K video on, nor does it have 4K resolution. But when it comes to pen input, when it comes to doing just about everything else that I could possibly want, that's where I look at this thing and I'm just glad that I made the upgrade. Now, in the past, I mentioned people should avoid the Tab S7, which is the smaller version of this tablet that does not have an AMOLED display. It has essentially everything else. It has the 120 hertz refresh rate. It has the same processor. So a very, I would say, solid performer. But when you take away the AMOLED panel, you take away part of what makes the entire Tab S line special. And this is the first time Samsung has done this, and I will not support it. So while I completely get wanting something smaller, thinner, lighter, because God knows when I traded in my Tab S6, I wondered whether I would miss that. I mean, it is substantially smaller than this, not just because it has a smaller display, but the actual thickness of the device is substantially different. I said that's part of the reason that I encouraged many of you to entertain the Tab S6 at discounted prices over the Tab S7, because of course they directly compete if you are not married to having 120 hertz. Now, I recommend getting a device that has 120 hertz if it doesn't destroy the battery life, which here it kind of does. You know, battery isn't awful, but I expected better battery life. And if you turn it off, there is a difference, but it's not the world of difference you might expect, like many people have experienced with the Note 20 Ultra, which has been a battery hog since launch, and really the only way to get around that is to disable 120 hertz, which again kind of defeats the purpose. Now, this isn't exactly the same experience, but it's still something I have to make mention of. But the pen experience, amazing. I mean, it's something where my fiance, if you haven't seen her inking demo of this, I'll include it in the description, and she may do more, because she is loving the experience that it has to offer with less latency than the Tab S6. Now, she had previously, as had I, thought the Tab S6 was pretty much the best tablet experience with pen input out there. Of course, I'm excluding Apple's products. If you don't know why, welcome to my channel. You'll learn. But now that she's used this, of course, there's kind of no way to go back. I mean, the latency is arguably one of the biggest improvements that Samsung made with this generation of tablet, other than the 120 hertz refresh rate and giving us a bigger display. Because while the processor upgrade is nice, you know, there isn't a world of difference in performance, and we're still dealing with 6 or 8 gigs of RAM. So it's not like we're looking at a completely new product. It's just larger, and the refresh rate has been improved. The real difference, even resolution, hasn't taken a real jump. So the real improvement to me at the end of the day, if you're a true S Pen enthusiast, is exactly that. The other thing, because the latency is improved, the other thing is, of course, DeX. You know, the ability to use that wirelessly, and the fact that the tablet has gotten more powerful, that's something that does benefit DeX. And if you didn't catch my video comparing the 6 versus 8 gigs of RAM option, I think that DeX is really the world where you'll see that difference. In that video, I talk about the fact that the 6 versus 8 gigs on this tablet, the Tab S7 Plus, doesn't change what the tablet can do. It changes what you can do with it in terms of how much you can have open at once and how quickly apps will load. So there's a benefit, but I don't think the majority of users will see that. However, if you're a heavy user that is prone to using DeX and using this as a laptop replacement, that is where I truly believe the 8 gigs of RAM will serve you well. That's not to say that the 6 gigs can't do it. It can, but in an environment like DeX, unlike the traditional Android experience, but a desktop-like experience, that's where I think you're going to realize quickly that you're opening many more windows, many more tabs, many more applications than you would traditionally with a regular Android experience. So that's really important, I think, if you're still shopping this, still trying to figure it out. If you already own it, you probably already know what I'm talking about. As for the keyboard cover case, it is a world of difference to not have to worry about whether this is going to fall off. If you watched my coverage last year, you know I was pained by that because I really felt that the keyboard cover was the difference of making this tablet really the best option on the market. And without it, it was just another tablet. I mean, I love the Tab S6, but this is the game-changing product because this is the only way that you get a trackpad and keyboard that natively works on it. And yeah, there are, Chinese covers with Bluetooth keyboards, but none of them are seamless. None of them are turnkey. Does this act great as a case? No, it doesn't. Do I wish that the keyboard was backlit? Of course. Do I wish the trackpad was larger? The trackpad is pretty much fine, I think. Could it be bigger? Of course. But I don't think it's necessary. I really wish this was backlit. I think that's something that at the price point they're commanding for this is totally within reason. It's sound. I mean, they're charging over $200 for the keyboard cover, and it's made out of plastic. I think that giving us something with backlighting is, at this point in time, and with the pricing of this product, it's time to do it. I mean, I don't think there's an excuse. This is basically just a big piece of plastic with, magnets on board, and to give us backlighting in here, it wouldn't be something that would push this over the edge. Do I think that it would cost Samsung, eat into their margins? Of course, but I think with the way they priced this, they should have done it. There's really no excuse at this point. And that's really my biggest critique of this product, is that I would have liked to have seen a backlit keyboard at the plus $200 price point of this keyboard cover. Now, granted, if you bought this in combination with the tablet, you didn't spend that. You probably spent $120, but that's still a lot. And if you're someone who said, I'm foregoing it, I'll see if I need it, well, then you're screwed because you're still going to have to shell out over $200, which right now is essentially a third of the price of the 128 gig model on sale, because I believe it's selling for around some odd hundred US dollars. So drink that in. While the tablets went on sale, these guys did not. And I don't expect the keyboard covers to go on sale anytime soon. If you look back at the Tab S6, they never went on sale. So this is one of those areas where Samsung knows they've got you, retailers know that they've got you, and they're not going to give you an inch. Okay? They just don't have a reason to. I wish they were nicer, but they're not. They're in it for a profit, and they want to take it from all of us. So it's par for the course. But what I can tell you is that if you're about to purchase one of these on sale, which I recommend now because with the new pricing, I think they are worth it. They were definitely questionable as an upgrade from the Tab S6. In fact, I was even wondering whether I was going to make the commitment, but then after using it, it was very difficult to go back, which tends to be the case when things are actually improved enough for it to change the way you use them. And from a content consumption standpoint, having 12.4 inches and having the 120 hertz refresh on the display, they really are game changers, especially if you aren't interested in pen input, because God knows there are plenty of you out here that don't care that a pen is even included. Another thing I want to point out on the pen, I've talked a lot about the latency improvement, is that if you're worried about recharging this, because it does recharge when docked, you should know it takes 5 minutes. So if the pen has no charge, it will still function, okay, as a stylus. That's not going to change. But the Bluetooth functionality, air command controls, gesture controls, those are not going to be available unless you basically stick it back on the charging spot on the back for a whopping 5 minutes. So that's something that I think is important for users to know. Beyond that, speakers on here are incredibly loud. Overall performance has been great. Battery life, I do wish was better. As I stated, it's somewhere between, it's a wide number, but it's really between 7 and 10 hours for me. It can be less than 7. It can be 6. So I'm not to the point that I can say it is exactly this number, because I'm reviewing a lot of stuff. What can I tell you? And I do use this a lot, but it's just the nature of the beast with what I do. So it's really what you're doing with it, how much brightness, what brightness level you're leaving this 12.4 inch display at. That's all going to determine it. at the end of the day. Cameras are solid. I do wish the front-facing camera was a little bit better for video conferencing. I feel like Samsung kind of let us down. It's not awful. It's better than most Windows machines, but I already expected that because the Tab S6 was that way. So I do wish it was a little better in that regard. It's not something that's inexcusable, but it's something that is definitely strange. I'm not really understanding of why Samsung didn't give us a better camera. I mean, they certainly charged enough for this. And right now I have not stuck a micro SD card in here, but I eventually will. You know, it's really the reason I like having a tablet like this, besides the obvious ones, which is that it's just a very good, I would say, supplement or replacement in many cases for my Ultrabook, for the HP Spectre X360 13T, is that with a lot of the mobile cameras out there, like the Osmo Pocket, Osmo Action, the Insta360 line, I have the 1R 1-inch edition, you need an Android device. And yes, that can be your phone, but if you want another device to pair it with, it's going to be a tablet. And that's why I like having the additional storage. Now, the 512 I think is absurd, and I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. I stated that in many videos, because over $1,000, you really should get yourself a laptop. I mean, Apple has created this world where we're going to spend over $1,000 for a tablet, and I just think it's absurd. And I don't like that Samsung is drinking the Kool-Aid, but that's because a lot of people are crossing over, and that's when you got to start serving Kool-Aid, right? But that's part of the reason, as I've stated in previous videos, I don't think anyone should buy the Tab S7. I don't want anyone to give fresh money to a product that I feel like is a step backwards. That will encourage Samsung, as I've stated, to make more products that are a step backwards but charge us premium prices. Don't want that to happen. And this is the first tablet, the S7, not this one, that Samsung has brought to market, in my memory, in the S line, the premium line, that doesn't have an AMOLED. I'm not sure how they justified it. Maybe it was COVID, you know, that the pandemic, it's the only way they can, you know, deliver something that will drop even lower on sale over time. But again, if you don't care about the new features, save the money and pick up the Tab S6, unless it's a wash and you don't care about having an AMOLED display. But to me, rewarding Samsung for downgrading hardware is a bad move. It's an Apple move. You know, they're the only ones who get away with that kind of stuff, and that's because their consumers often don't know what they're buying. And it's not your fault if you don't know. You're not expected to be a tech guru. You know, that's just not part of what anyone expects of anybody, frankly. But when people start to pretend they are and defend things that aren't rational, that's when you got to scratch your head. We got a lot of that in this country and around the world. It's not just here in this country, but lately a lot in this country. Common sense is no longer common. In fact, probably it never was. At any rate, hope you enjoyed the update. Full review is coming soon because I'm pretty much there. I mean, I love this thing. It did replace my Tab S6. You already know I'm fully committed. My Tab S6 went back to Samsung for a $450 trade-in value. And these things went on sale afterwards, which I kind of knew was coming because I called them too expensive for a reason. They were too expensive. And Samsung knew exactly what they were doing. They were creating a lot of headroom for the holiday season, and they achieved that. So right now, at their sale price, I think they're a very good buy. And I think that after the holiday season, they'll probably flirt with the original retail. Again, that's what they do. Get enough sales on board, get enough reviews published online from users. That's when you can pump pricing back up. That's exactly how Amazon exists. I mean, that's literally their model. But overall, the Tab S7 Plus is the best tablet on the market in terms of features, in terms of pen performance, in terms of display quality, being AMOLED and 120 hertz. I do wish the battery life was 10 hours plus, but I don't really need it to be. Plus, it recharges fairly quickly, even though it doesn't support, you know, the type of wattage that new devices are showing with, what do they have now, 90 watts? It's insane. And you could, you know, these Chinese manufacturers have phones that can be recharged in 10 minutes. Oh, hopefully we'll see some of that next year. At any rate, Tab S7 Plus is a winner. Not a full review, not a full demo of everything. Also, I didn't mention gaming. If you want to game, you're going to be able to do that on here and do so beautifully, especially if you want to mirror, you know, essentially your Windows PC. If you've got a desktop gaming experience or a console that you want to mirror on this, you're not going to have a problem. And having that 12.4-inch high-res AMOLED at 120 hertz is a beautiful thing to appreciate in that scenario. Maybe I'll end up doing a demo of that. It's possible. At any rate, that's the wrap-up on the update. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.